Half of everyone who ever lived has had a period. It's been part of human life for hundreds of thousands of years. Yet open a history book and it's strangely missing. 40 pages on Roman roads, not a line on this. So today we hunt down the missing half of history. We're crossing the whole ancient world for answers. Egypt, Greece, Rome, medieval Europe, China, the Aztecs. What did women actually use month after month? What did each culture believe was happening? And what absurd things did men insist were true? First, a period was rarely treated as plain biology. Many cultures cast it as something supernatural, a tangle of fear, awe, and pure invention. Each society settled on sacred or dangerous, sometimes both. And that single choice shaped how women could live. Start in Egypt, as usual a few steps ahead. Among the first cultures to leave written records, and some of them touch on women's health directly. The Ebers Papyrus, from around 1550 BCE, already discusses gynecological conditions and remedies. So what did Egyptian women reach for? The leading idea, softened papyrus as an early pad. It was cheap and lying around absolutely everywhere. Others likely rolled up soft, absorbent linen, the same cloth used for clothes and mummies, washed and reused. And crucially, none of it was treated as shameful. Periods were tied to fertility and the goddess Isis, even to the flooding cycles of the Nile itself. The river's rhythm seemed to echo the body's rhythm, so women simply carried on with their lives. Next, Greece, home of philosophy and democracy, and also some gloriously wrong ideas about anatomy. When it came to the female body, the celebrated thinkers went right off the rails. Exhibit A, the philosopher Aristotle. He decided menstrual blood was basically failed semen. His logic, a woman's body tried to make semen too, but being colder and weaker, it fell short, producing blood instead of the real thing. This wasn't fringe. It was the mainstream view for ages. Meanwhile, what were Greek women really doing? Wool was the obvious answer, soft and everywhere. They shaped little wool pads and even wool plugs, arguably the earliest tampons on record. Belts and cloth held everything snugly in place. Not every Greek got it wrong, though. Hippocrates treated periods as ordinary and healthy, a normal signal of a woman's overall well-being. A missing period, to him, was a medical concern. Brilliant and baffling side by side, very Greek. On to Rome, aqueducts, concrete, and law. Plus one very confident know-it-all, Pliny the Elder. He crammed a 37-volume encyclopedia with facts. His notes on menstruation are a true masterclass. A masterclass in being confidently, wildly wrong. Pliny claimed a woman on her period could wither crops, dull sword blades, and turn fresh wine to vinegar. She could kill bees, rust iron, blacken bronze, drive dogs mad, and even scare off hail and whirlwinds. Rome basically imagined her as a walking storm. Real Roman women, of course, just got on with it. They used soft cloth, wool, and natural sea sponges. The Mediterranean made sponges easy to find and rinse. One poet, Ausonius, hints at a sponge used this way. Exactly the clue historians love to argue over forever. Rome also reveals a pattern about class. Wealthy women had fine linen and servants to wash it. Poorer women, most women, made do with rough rags. That gap wasn't unique to Rome at all. It quietly repeats in every culture we visit. But materials mattered less than one giant force, taboo. In a huge range of cultures, a period triggered rules. And these were not gentle suggestions. They dictated where a woman could go, what she could touch, and who could touch her. In the Hebrew Bible, in Leviticus, a menstruating woman was called niddah, ritually impure. Others were not to touch her during that time. And she bathed in a mikveh to be restored. This was about ritual purity, not hygiene as we mean it. Ancient Hindu texts drew their own strict lines. The Laws of Manu warned that a man who lay with her would lose his wisdom, strength, sight, and long life. In some traditions, she couldn't cook or enter a temple. A period could reshape her entire daily world. Zoroastrian rules went further still. A menstruating woman was kept apart and fed little and cut off from fire, water, and the earth. Very elements that faith held most sacred. Here, isolation itself became the main way to cope. From the Americas to Africa to Asia, many women spent those days in a separate moon lodge. Sometimes the framing was danger and impurity. Elsewhere it meant heightened spiritual power. She wasn't punished, exactly. She was set apart. But being set apart didn't mean better supplies. You had only what you carried in with you, plus whatever your community's custom provided. And custom usually meant the same humble kit: folded cloth, soft rags, and gathered leaves. Jump ahead to medieval Europe, not exactly famous for its hygiene, fairly earned. For most peasant and town women, simply bleeding into their clothes was the norm. Thick wool skirts and dark fabric hid it as they worked. Wealthier women had a tidier setup. Folded scraps of linen or wool did the work, held by a belt or girdle around the waist, then washed out and used again. Not so different from methods still used today. Medieval medicine had a curious theory too. Following the Greeks, it saw a period as the body flushing out a dangerous surplus of blood. So doctors actively encouraged it to flow, prescribing herbs called emmenagogues to bring it on. Parsley, pennyroyal, mugwort, tansy, some genuinely worked. China took a strikingly different view. Its medicine saw the female body as a whole system, distinct from the male one, but never lesser. A period became a dashboard for overall health. Its timing, color, and volume all read as clues. Texts from the Han era, 200 BCE to 200 CE, describe cycle troubles and their causes in detail. Women used soft silk or cotton pads by social class, tied on with woven belts at the waist. By the Tang dynasty, garments even had built-in pouches. In the Americas, much of the record is simply gone. Colonization erased so many written and spoken traditions. Still, Aztec women likely used maguey, the agave plant, as a soft, absorbent, endlessly useful fiber. And here the moon lodge felt like a retreat, not a cage. Now for a fact that surprises people, the disposable pad is shockingly recent. The first, Lister's towels, arrived around 1888 and flopped. Victorian shoppers were too shy to buy it. Only Kotex's 1921 campaign finally made pads mainstream. Step back, and the real story sharpens. Women were never helpless before their own bodies. The true barrier was rarely a lack of materials. It was the culture wrapped around the biology, sacred or shameful, that choice decided their freedom. One more thing we rarely mention: the pain. Cramps are real, physical, and as old as we are. Every culture here tried to ease them somehow. Warm compresses, careful formulas, chosen herbs, chamomile, ginger, cinnamon, fennel, many of which truly help. We build museums for swords and battle lines, yet skip an experience half of humanity has shared. Cleopatra lived this. So did Roman and medieval women. So did Aztec priestesses, in every age, everywhere. It isn't taboo. It's ancient history, and it's fascinating.